Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We are really excited to have you here with us for the launch of Kanverse Vendor Agent. I'm your host, King Ghosh. Along with me, I have Arvind Nehru, Chief of Customer Success at Kanverse, and I also have Tanner Nair, Manager at Kanverse. He'll be our presenter for today's session. Before we start, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. We are recording this session, and after our session is done, we'll send you the recording link over email. And in case you have any question, feel free to raise those in the Q&A section, which is there on your screen. At the end of the session, we have reserved time for answering your question, where we'll take those questions up. Tanner, over to you.
Yep. Thanks, King Shook. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. If you're in accounts payable, you already know that managing vendor communications can feel like a full-time job. From endless email threads asking about payment status to back and forth onboarding questions, it's a constant drain on AP's time. On the flip side, vendors are frustrated too. They want clarity, speed, and self-service, but often face delays, silence, or confusion. That's why today we're excited to introduce our brand new vendor AI agent, Veronica, an assistant built to transform how your business engages with vendors and automates redundant tasks and inquiries. From answering onboarding questions to providing real-time updates on payment status, Veronica handles the repetitive back and forth so your team doesn't have to. Before we start, let's talk about the framework and challenges that led to the creation of our new agentic vendor assistant. Now, a little background on Kanverse from a technology side. Kanverse's intelligent document processing is state-of-the-art. We don't rely on outdated OCR templates. We bring a whole new definition to document processing. It's the core multi-stage patented AI technology that lays the foundation for end-to-end automation, reducing manual touch points and cost, all while delivering 99.5% processing accuracy. From a business standpoint at Kanverse, we're agile. We're using the latest and greatest cutting-edge technologies. We're providing white glove service where every client counts and delivering fast time to value. We come from a 22-year IT service company, Jade Global, who's experienced in integrations, digital transformation, finance, and much more. Not to mention our strategic partnerships with Oracle, SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, and Intact. Now, we don't put our clients in a box. Each customer is unique in their own way. The hyper-automation capabilities are what creates those end-to-end customizable workflows leading to touchless processing. All these clients you see down here along the bottom, they all do document processing, but nobody does it the same. Our IDP technology has transformed enterprises of all sizes and sectors with a 0% attrition rate. Now, our patented multi-stage AI engine combined with a robust business rule framework is the brains behind intelligent document processing. Whether for structured, unstructured, or custom documents, this core platform powers touchless automation and acts as the driving intelligence behind agentic AI. It opens up unlimited possibility for enterprises into document processing that doesn't just support invoices, it supports sales orders, insurance intake, and other document-heavy processes. By continuously evolving to meet our customer needs of automation, Kanverse enables agentic AI to take initiative, make context-aware decisions, and automatically execute tasks based on predefined rules, goals, and learned behaviors in a multitude of areas, including AP, HR, sales orders, and vendors, just to name a few. Now, before we dive into how our vendor agent helps, let's take a step back and look at the day-to-day challenges both AP teams and vendors are facing. From AP's lens, they see a high volume of inquiries from vendors taking up roughly 20 to 25% of their time. What's the status of my invoice? What do I need to fill out in this onboarding section? AP teams also come across issues with manual and inefficient onboarding, like gathering documents from various channels and verifying that information, as well as manually routing those documents for approval and review. AP teams generally have poor visibility into the process as well. They lack centralized channels containing documents and communication. They face issues with compliance and risk management, ensuring vendors meet compliance but lack automation around verification, alerts of missing or insufficient or outdated supplier information. On average, 82% of companies are using outdated supplier information. And lastly, no self-service for vendors. Without a portal or intelligent agent, vendors must rely entirely on AP for updates, creating that dependency loop that adds to AP's workload. These are often met with delays that lead to those damaged relationships. And from the vendor's lens, they lack transparency. Reaching out to AP repeatedly is frustrating and time-consuming. They incur friction during onboarding. Vendors are agitated by the complex onboarding process with little instructions and may miss key requirements or submit incomplete info, causing delays. They get no support outside of business hours. Our vendors want answers, but they have to wait for that human response. That's why we're excited to introduce our brand new vendor agent, Veronica, an AI-powered assistant built specifically to support your vendors, reduce AP's workload, and eliminate that dependency loop. The vendor agent allows your suppliers to get real-time updates, guide vendors through onboarding tasks, resolve issues, and get answers without ever sending an email or picking up the phone. It's always on, it's always accurate, and fully integrated with your AP process. With the vendor agent, your AP team gets fewer distractions, your vendors get the transparency they've been waiting for, and your business gets more time to focus on what matters most. All of this is done through automation, while ensuring your requirements and compliance have been met using our IDP technology to extract information, verify documents, alert of any discrepancies, and route without any manual intervention. As this agent progresses, we plan on introducing even more concepts in the next 3 to 4 months. Now, as Veronica continues to assist in the heavy lifting of vendor onboarding, you'll see increased efficiency in terms of amount of work being done automatically. Since everything is processed, read, and validated using our IDP engine, you'll see less manual entry and improved accuracy going forward. The biggest advantage this agent has is reducing the time AP spends on answering vendor inquiries, giving time back to more valuable tasks and saving on cost. As stated before, AP teams generally spend roughly 20 to 25% of their time answering these vendor inquiries. At any point there's a query from your vendor, a response will be sent immediately. No longer will they be met with delays. Each inquiry and response is adding to Veronica's learning of better handling communications. In addition, all the information is housed in a centralized location for both vendors and AP, so you're never losing track of documents or communication. Now, this is what your life may look like right now, and here's what it will look like with Veronica. We can see a side-by-side comparison here of how introducing Veronica can take onboarding from weeks to hours, reduce manual intervention and errors, all while maintaining compliance, reducing costs, providing more comprehensive risk management, and increasing visibility for the AP team and vendors through centralized channels and clear audit trails. Now let's briefly talk about a high-level overview of the flow for onboarding these new vendors. To start, a designated AP team member will initiate the onboarding to a vendor. The vendor receives an email with credentials to log in and start their onboarding. Veronica then guides our vendor in what they need to provide and assists with any questions along the way. In an instance where Veronica is unable to answer the question or the vendor is looking to loop in a human, that can also be done. Once all of our required documents have been uploaded, an approval is initiated to the AP team. Once reviewed and approved, a brand new vendor will be created in your ERP. Now, before we dive into the demo, let's talk about the framework that led us into the introduction of agents. The vendor and HR agents were just the start. We're looking at introducing even more agents for IT and other departments in the future. One of the biggest advantages of introducing AI agents into your process is their ability to make real-time decisions based on both predefined business rules and patterns learned over time. What sets AI agents apart is their ability to continuously learn. They don't just follow static rules, they improve with each interaction, whether it's learning how a specific vendor formats invoices or adjusting to changes in your business logic. The agent evolves over time. This leads to higher extraction accuracy, faster processing, and smarter handling of edge cases the more you use it. Now, exceptions are inevitable, but handling them doesn't have to slow you down. When agents encounter ambiguous or problematic data, it flags the issue and provides additional context for review. This way, your team or vendor isn't just notified of a problem, they're equipped with the information needed to resolve it quickly and confidently. Lastly, agents aren't meant to operate in isolation. They're designed to work with your existing systems. Whether it's your ERP, CRM, or document management tools, it integrates seamlessly to pull and push data, trigger workflows, and maintain a consistent flow of information. Let's go ahead and get into our demo for today. course, we'll be starting in Kanverse in the shoes of our AP team. When going to our vendor onboarding tab here at the top, I land on my inbox where I'll be onboarding a new vendor. Now, this tab will only be made available to AP members with those permissions, so not all of our users will see this tab. By clicking Onboard Vendor here in the top right and entering their email address, the vendor will immediately receive an email from Kanverse with your company's branding and their login credentials. So let's go ahead and onboard our new vendor. We'll give this just a second to click into our vendor's inbox. Bear with me just a moment here. Let's try a different email really quick. See if this has come up. Still nothing. Let's check our spam really quick. Okay. Give me just a moment here, everyone. Here we are. So this is what our brand new, this is what the onboarding is going to look like for our vendors. When they receive this email from the Kanverse team, they're going to be prompted with our portal branding, of course, a link to log in, as well as their onboarding credentials. So by clicking here, we can go ahead and log in to our new platform. We'll log out here. Use our one-time password. Now they're also going to be prompted with a verification code. Again, we're just adding that extra layer of security so that first time they log in, we know it's the correct user. Here's my one-time password. Of course, they'll be prompted to change. Bear with me just a moment here while we log in for the first time. Perfect. Now, upon logging in, our vendor is going to land on a chat screen with Veronica, where the agent will welcome the vendor and explain the necessary steps and information in order to complete our onboarding. Now, not all customers have the same onboarding process, so the steps we're showing today might not be your exact procedure. Kanverse is able to create unique onboarding forms based on the type of vendor you're onboarding to meet your specific requirements. Onboarding forms can contain various documents in any style and format. For example, questionnaires, steps to take, and preloaded documents to assist the vendor in ensuring a smooth onboarding process. Again, all completely customized to your needs. In this example, you can see we're asking for a W-9, proof of insurance, an Excel file of a request form that needs to be filled out of basic information. Once all of our documents are uploaded to the chat, Veronica will read, extract, and validate the information to ensure they meet onboarding requirements. If there is any missing information or questions about the form, Veronica will provide feedback to help the vendor in their onboarding journey. To show how competent Veronica is, let's go ahead and ask a question about the onboarding form before submitting our documents. So in our request form, we have a 2-page form here, and going to the second page is where all my questions are being asked. We'll start with 42 here. Now, does the cloud hosting provider provide independent audit reports for their cloud hosting services? I'm not generally sure what they're asking for here or which independent audit reports I'm required to submit. So let's ask Veronica this question to get a better understanding. We'll give Veronica just a moment to answer here. Now, based on Veronica's response and the content she's providing, she's able to tailor us in a response showing that SOC reports are available for this, which was going to be my follow-up question. Now, she's smart enough to understand the content of our question and educated enough to provide an answer about specific documents like SOT that pertain to audit reports. Let's ask just a few more questions before uploading our documents. For my next question, are vulnerability scans performed on external and internal networks? Please provide details. Now, I'm not really sure if they're looking for a yes, no here. Let's ask Veronica for some more details. And here, what we can expect to see from Veronica is giving us a clear answer of just saying yes or no. As we can see here, she's able to understand our question and provide us a quick answer. Now, notice when asking like this, Veronica is able to answer it and give us some context as well. And for our last question before submitting all of our documents, let's look at 72. Is there a removable media policy or program that has been approved by management and communicated to appropriate constituents? I'm not really sure what to enter here and what's being asked, so let's re-ask Veronica again. And in small questions like these are the exact reason Veronica was created, to help reduce the time AP spends on answering those redundant inquiries, adding context and helpful guidance to ensure a smooth onboarding for our vendors. Now, given all my questions have been answered here, let's go ahead and upload our documents. So I'll put in our completed valid request form, our liability form, and of course our W-9. Now, much like invoices here, it's going to take Veronica a moment to ingest, classify, extract, and validate all the information we're giving her. So let's give Veronica just a few moments here and take a look at some of these documents. Now, here's my completed valid request form. As you can see on this first page, information is a little skewed. It's not found in the same row, such as company name here. This is where our IDP engine is coming into play, where we're able to, no matter the type of document, the format, information is skewed, our IDP engine is still able to extract and classify this information given the millions of documents we've already taken a look at. Here again is our second page with all of our responses. Next, we'll take a look at our W-9 form. Of course, we have our company name here, as well as our addresses and our employer identification number, and our valid certificate here for insurance. Now, the one thing I want to point out here is this coverage policy of $150,000. We'll see how Kanverse's business rule framework is going to take into effect, and Veronica is going to alert us of any issues with this information. So let's come back to our chat and see if Veronica has handled this. And we can see here exactly where this verification and validation is taking place. Now, let's send a follow-up to Veronica because I'm not sure exactly if we can have 160,000. So instead of looking for Veronica's answers, I actually want to go straight to AP to understand if this is available to be less than 160,000. So let's go ahead and ask Veronica here. And while we're just taking a moment here, allow me just a moment to log into our AP user to see where these questions are coming from. So now in jumping into AP shoes, here's a chat screen where anything Veronica is not able to answer or any inquiries that need to be directed to AP are found. We can see we have an overview of all of our tickets and their progress. We have a few tabs letting us know of any open tickets or applied tickets, as well as live requests and completed chats. And we can see our brand new ticket that's been submitted by our new vendor. So let's take a look here. As you can see, we have a full audit trail of the conversation with the vendor, as well as all of our documents, and an area as well where we can send a reply. Now let's go ahead and see here, review the information and the question they're asking here. Now it's completely not acceptable to have anything less than 160,000. So we're going to go ahead and let our vendor know this. It must be 160,000 or greater. And what we're going to see here is a real-time response back to our vendor where Veronica is going to inform them of this information. Again, no need to wait for any delays in response. Veronica is able to redirect this directly to our vendor. So we can see here a response has already come in, letting us know this information. So let's go ahead now, upload a valid form because we've gotten this approved. And once again, we'll give Veronica just a moment to extract and validate that information. And essentially what's going to happen here is all this information has been validated by Veronica. She'll ask us to confirm our onboarding has been completed and can be routed to AP. The documents and this relevant information we've provided will be sent to that AP team member who's responsible for reviewing and approving the onboarding form. Now, the approvals for the onboarding can be done via email or directly in Kanverse by the AP team. Once all of our documents are sent to AP for approval, we'll see how Veronica will provide a tracking number back to the vendor that they can use to follow up and ask any questions about. Now we can see here, we're going to confirm our onboarding. And this is going to be the response here where she's going to provide us a tracking ID that we can always follow up to. So let's go ahead and jump back to AP Shoes and see how this request travels through Kanverse and the information is displayed. So back on my vendor onboarding tab, and you'll notice now that my request is found on this confirm tab. Now it's going to be in a form structure. So when I click in here, I can see all that information that's been provided on our Excel documents. And at the bottom, any of those forms or uploaded documents that we've sent. Now you'll notice when I'm taking a look at this, there's a couple additional analysis that are being done. We're given red text letting us know of any alerts of data process, yellow letting us know of any warnings, and green for any green flags. Again, we have all of our documents at the bottom. And once we have gone through and verified all this information, we can click publish to create this new vendor in our ERP. And while not shown today, we know there are typically approvals along the way when onboarding a new vendor. An approval workflow with multiple levels can be set up before publishing the new vendor record into your ERP if you wish. Now, going forward, our vendor can ask questions to the agent, such as invoice status, how many invoices has been submitted, what's the total pending payment amount of invoices, or any questions about the invoice process. Here we'll show some additional scenarios where Veronica can handle from our vendors. So I'm jumping back to my vendor's shoes again. We can see some report letting us know, congratulations, you've been approved. We can now upload invoices, monitor the status, and track payments. So let's go ahead and ask for an invoice status request here. Let's check an invoice status from Veronica. It'll probably help to be on my vendor screen here. Let's ask for the invoice status here. Now, here's one of the key features of agents. It's not only verifying the information in Kanverse, but able to dive into your ERP and pull details from your source of truth. So it's not just looking in one place for information, it's also able to look into your ERP or Kanverse itself. We'll give Veronica just a moment here to go through her standard operating procedures of looking through these two places. And here you can see we're given some context about our invoice, when it was last modified, and the due date. So we can also ask additional questions to Veronica, like give me the invoices submitted in August 2019, or give me the last 5 submitted invoices as well. So not only can we ask about these specific invoice questions, but we can also upload invoices through chat. So let's go ahead, we'll submit an invoice and allow the system some time to process. And in this example, I'm going to go ahead and upload an invoice with an invalid PO. What we can expect to see here is Veronica to respond to us, letting us know the PO isn't valid. And when going into Kanverse as an AP team member, we'll see a similar error. Now, these are just some of the types of warnings. Vendors can be customized as well if you don't wish for them to be alerted of this information. So let's go ahead and upload our error invoice with that invalid PO. And once again, just like you're submitting an invoice to Kanverse from either your email or manually uploading, it's going to take just a moment to extract, classify, and validate that information. And again, just to reiterate, in case there is an error that requires input from the vendor, it's going to be routed directly here within the chat. And if that error requires the AP team to handle it, it'll be routed to them. So let's give Veronica just a moment here. So let's take a look at her documents. Can actually take a look at this invoice too. And here you go. This is exactly the type of response we can expect from Veronica for those error documents. We found a few errors. Please review and correct them. Our PO number is not valid. We can reply with any additional assistance or contact our support team. Now let's upload a clean invoice and show how Veronica is able to interpret the information and inform us of the data on the invoice that's been extracted. So here we'll go ahead and upload a valid invoice. And while we're doing this, let's go ahead and jump back to Kanverse and AP Shoes to see about this error document and how it's been uploaded into the system. So if I come over to invoices, you can see my top result here is going to be that errored invoice. Without even clicking in, of course, we provide any type of errors or warnings to you. Here we can see our invoice is already present for this vendor and our PO number is not valid. So just again, that business rule framework that Kanverse is able to apply to not only your vendors, but of course your AP team as well. We have just a moment to review our document here. And what we'll see here for this clean document, of course, is it's going to show all this information that Veronica has reviewed and extracted from our invoice. We can see some typical fields such as our vendor name, invoice date. And what Veronica is looking to see here is going to ask you if you would like to make any type of changes, or if not, go ahead and submit. So everything here looks good to me. So what we can do is go ahead and submit. And once again, just like we saw that errored invoice in Kanverse, we'll also see this clean new invoice in there without any warnings or errors, hopefully. Coming back to our Kanverse platform and our AP team shoes, we can see that valid invoice has showed up. Of course, the vendor name is not valid, so that's just once again some of the business rule framework that we're bringing to our teams. Come back to our presentation. This wraps up our demo for today. And having worked as an AP clerk, I've experienced firsthand the constant back and forth between vendors and AP teams. And while at a previous AP automation company, one of the most frequent support tickets we saw came from vendors with onboarding questions, tasks that often got deprioritized. That's why I'm excited for the efficiency, accuracy, and time savings Veronica is going to bring to both our customers and their vendors. Thanks, everyone, for your time today. We'll use the remainder to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. We're now open for questions, and I can already see there are a bunch of questions that we have in the Q&A section. So let us take them one by one. The first question we have is around, is the agent also equipped to deal with changes to existing vendors, that is, address or banking changes? Yes. This can be very easily configured on the agent to support the current process that your organization has, not just onboarding vendors, but also updating vendor information. The next question that we have is, some vendors never put the correct PO number on their invoice. Can we customize Veronica to exclude certain vendors that don't reference the correct PO number on the invoice despite it being a viable PO number? Absolutely. This can be very easily customized to your daily operations, any specific whitelisting or blacklisting that needs to be done, that can be easily set up. In fact, Kanverse vendor agent is built on the same business rule framework that you're already using as part of our IDP platform. So you know how easy it is to create those conditions and rules within the business rule framework. The same can be set up for the agent as well. The next question that we have is, where can vendor approval workflow be set up? Is it in the Canvas portal or in the ERP system? So the vendor approval workflow can be set up on the Canvas side. That is again supported. If you prefer following the workflow which is already existing in your ERP system, that's a choice that is also available for our customers. They can choose whether they want to continue with the existing setup or set that up on the Canvas side. So both is supported. Okay, we have another question. Does Veronica validate the document that is being uploaded? For example, if I save some file as a W9 file and upload it, does Veronica capture it? Absolutely. Veronica is able to capture any document that is part of your onboarding process and then extract the data from the documents. For example, from the W9 form, it will read the vendor detail and compare that with the detail that is filled up in the form. If there is any mismatch, it will give you an alert letting you know that the W9 details do not match the data that has been entered. The next question that we have is this an additional cost and how much is this cost? Also, before you confirm this new vendor, does red mean alert for info, yellow is missing information, and green is everything green is good? That is right. Again, these are standard alerters. Any condition which is not met would be marked with red. Anything which is a warning would be marked in amber or yellow. And anything which is passed or successful would be marked in green. And again, this can be configured based on whatever conditions you want set up. Is there an additional cost? Yes. This is a separate product which complements our ITP platform and has an additional cost which is based on a consumption model. The amount of conversations and usage that happens on the platform will lead to a certain charges for each agent. And feel free to reach out to us, and we can have a separate discussion around how this pricing happens, and if there is any provision of any kind of waiving off, that can also be discussed separately. We have another question. Are there any templates or integration with Oracle Fusion, and how would this overlap or work with the supplier portal that Oracle has? Arvind, do you want to take that question?
Yeah. So bottom line is, there are a lot more things Veronica is doing which supplier portal does not do. The biggest one is the fact that we load a W9, it extracts that information correctly and validates the information. The portal expects you to enter this information. That's the first major difference in this. Other difference is that portals are structured. You can only go this way, whereas our concept of AI agent is unstructured. You can ask any question, including how the weather is technically. So the point here is, you may have requirement which you may not have thought about it, and that is something which Veronica will learn over a period of time. But the most important thing is, as the documents are uploaded, the extraction and validation is a very, very important element of this product.
When we have one more question, can the vendor agent identify the country-specific banking information such as BSB code, Zenjing code, ABA routing number, etc., to update in ERP?
As happens today in our product, all localizations can be accounted for each country, and that same logic applies here also. Remember, we are basically seeing the same data of what you guys see in our AP automation tool. So short answer is yes, everything can be done in the same way.
Arvind, we also have a follow-up question on that. Since there are banking details on these forms, what about the data security?
Finally, product. So why this? A lot of it. We are very particular about ensure veracity of information and the security of the information. That is why we have various ways of ensuring this data is structured and is secure. You can talk about multi-factor authentication is basic part of our product. So I don't see that as an issue. The fact that we're able to today see invoice data, it is just an extension of banking information. Yes, this is very, very important. So we're very, very particular about having human in the loop. That is why every time a banking information is changed, technically our workflow will push you to validate the information and check. Maybe call the vendor did you make a change? So there are various ways of ensuring security beyond the product.
Thanks, Arvind. The next question that we have is it required that the company leverages Kanverse AP automation to leverage Veronica? What if the company is operating out of Oracle IDR or other ERP solution? Well, the way this agent has been designed, it is to complement our existing IDP product, but it can also be leveraged as a standalone product. See, at the end of the day, the information that the agent consumes and provides is based out of the information in our ERP system. You're making live API calls and getting you status details from your ERP system, whichever ERP you are using. When we are creating the vendor, we are updating the information directly into your ERP system. So it can still work as a standalone application without the Kanverse AP solution. However, there is a lot of interesting features that we are able to provide you because the IDP platform and the agent works together. Some of those features may not be applicable, but otherwise, as a standalone agent, it will work just as fine with any ERP system. Okay. So we have a question. Can you leverage the bot to perform ongoing vendor maintenance activities? That is, send out request for updated W9 or certificate of insurance document? Absolutely. It's just a matter of configuring our workflows that work behind the scene. If you need W9 or updated insurance document request to the vendor, that can be designed using the workflow builder and supported on the platform.
Let me add something here on this point. We manage dates very particularly. One of the questions which came up earlier was, what happens if the vendor changes the banking information? Technically, the system is smart enough. It can say till July end, you should use Bank A. After July, and after that, August onwards, you're doing Bank B. System is smart enough to account for that element as it uses the system.
Right. We have one more question. Is there any risk assessment and review covered in the product? I'm assuming the question is about, does the platform itself perform any risk assessment on the data that it is consuming? Yes, it does. In fact, there was one of the screens which we were showing in the demo where a lot of information was shown as part of the analysis that the agent has done on all of the documents that it has consumed. So based on that analysis, it is providing you with information, some of which is marked in different alerters, warnings, to give you a clear indication of whether it is a risky profile or not. If the question is more around whether the platform itself is covered, then yes, Kanverse is SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant. So whatever we showed you today is part of our SOC 2 compliance already.
And let me add Kingshuk on this one, on risk assessment. If your organization's compliance requires some specific assessment of a vendor as part of a standard workflow, it can be also added to this.
Yes. We have one more question. Similarly, can we establish business rules which would allow Veronica to make updates in Oracle, for example, inactivate all vendors with no activity in prior 12 months? Technically, it is doable, but we would still prefer Veronica provides you with the details of all the vendors that are inactive, while you take the final review call and say, yes, go ahead and inactivate them. Arvind, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, see, the Veronica has been designed to work for your vendor. It's not been designed to work internally. That's a different, our AP product already does that. The idea here is, as a vendor, I'm asking about my information. Idea is not that as an AP leader, you're saying, inactivate vendors. That is not the intent of Veronica. Veronica is kind of more outside-facing communication rather than internal communication. And internal communication, our AP product handles it on its own. It should be done there. It can tell you what vendors you have not had transactions for last X number of days, and if you want to invalidate that. That's just kind of a separate area, but not part of Veronica.
Thanks, Arvind. There's another question. Does Veronica require a license for the ERP? Said another way, is Veronica required to be licensed to act as an employee? And thus, we have a full traceability audit trail on all activities performed by the bot. Yes, there is a whole audit trail that is available for anything that Veronica does. Everything can be traced back, and there's an accountability for all the action that Veronica takes. Does Veronica require a license? On the Kanverse side, we do not have a license-based model. It's more about the usage-based model that Kanverse follows. There is no license involved. You may have as many users use Veronica as you wish. At the end of the day, the amount of conversation and usage the users perform on the agent, that is what would be charged to you. The more the consumption happens, there are discounted pricing that happens. And feel free to reach out to us and we can have a detailed discussion around how the pricing works for Veronica.
Kingshu, the question is, does it require a license for the ERP? Since the fact that it's connecting with ERP, that's the question actually.
Not really. It does not. It operates the same way as our current Kanverse IDP platform operates. We are simply consuming APIs that are already available for public consumption through external sources. Okay. Any more questions? We'll give it another couple of seconds. And if there are no more questions, then we can wrap up the session. Okay, we have one more question. Does the tool support bulk upload? Yes, it does. You can upload a list of multiple vendors, and all of those vendors will receive the onboarding request as separate emails.
There's another question, Tim, from it says this has been deployed within your customer base as yet or not?
So we're already in discussion with a couple of customers who are evaluating this agent. Having said that, this is not the first agent that Kanverse has developed on the Kanverse agentic platform. We already have 3 agents that are live and are being used by over 1,500 plus employees. So that's about it. We have about 3 agents which are already live, not for vendor agent. For vendor agent, we are in discussion with a couple of customers already who have shown interest.
So while the product is new, but the concept we've already used, we would strongly encourage to use the product and help us in making it, better product. Because as you are using it, this product will be enhanced accordingly.
Arvind, we have one more question. If AP uploads a new vendor, should we do it through Veronica as well?
If AP uploads, it can be done through Veronica if it was, but it is not a must. But if your current process, your new vendor got added in within the system, Veronica is not required, but Veronica should be used if a new vendor joins. It's not a must, but both options is available to you. There are 2 routes basically for you.
Okay. We hope you found this session engaging and insightful. If you have any further questions or feedback for us, please reach out to us. We always appreciate hearing from you. As we wrap up today's session, please note that this session is being recorded and we will send out the recording after this meeting is done. Thank you all for joining today's call. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.